Okay, we're going to continue the Unit 7 review explanations. We're going to do 17 through 21. Okay, so the directions on this is to find the product. So we may have to distribute, or we may have to use box or FOIL method. Okay, so let's do number 17. Number 17 is root 6 times root 10 plus root 15. Let me say that again. It's root 6 parenthesis root 10 plus root 15 close parenthesis. This is a distributive property, no problem. Now remember, we're always multiplying the outside numbers times the outside numbers, the inside numbers times the inside numbers. Now this doesn't appear to have outside numbers, but remember, there's invisible ones in front of all of these. So if you need to make them visible to help you with this, do that. Okay, then I'm going to distribute. And what I'm going to end up with is 1 times 1 on the outside, which is 1. And on the inside, I'm going to end up with 6 times 10. And there's a reason I'm not writing 60. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then I'm going to distribute it over to the second term. So 1 times 1 on the outside is just 1. And on the inside, we have a 6 times 15. Now the reason I didn't multiply them is because I need to prime factor them anyway. So it's just easier to prime factor 6 times 10 than to prime factor 60. So this is going to be 6 is 2 times 3, 10 is 2 times 5. And then the second one is the same reason. 6 is 2 times 3, and 15 is 3 times 5. Okay? And now I'm just going to look for what can we bring out. And so in this one, we can bring out a 2. Even though they're not next to each other, it doesn't matter. They can both come out. So we have 2's coming out here. So if a 2 comes out, let me switch back over here, then we bring the 2 2's out. Something happens. There's a 1 outside waiting for it. So there's just a 2 on the outside. And on the inside, we have left behind 3 and 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, let's go to our other one. In this term, 3 times 3, that can be brought out. Okay, so we bring out a 3, and left behind is a root 10. Now remember, square root of 15 and the square root of 10 cannot go together. And the reason they can't go together is they don't have the same number under the radical. So really, this is our final simplified solution. Okay? All right, let's go to number 18. Number 18 is 2 root 7 parenthesis 3 root 12 plus 5 root 8 close parenthesis. Now this time we do have numbers in front. So we got to make sure we multiply them. Okay, the numbers in front get multiplied. So 2 times 3 is 6, so that's what's on the front here. And then inside, just like before, I'm just going to write 7 times 12 because the inside is where we're going to have to prime factor. Then I'm going to multiply my outside times my second term. So 2 times 5 is 10 on the outside. And on the inside, we have a 7 times an 8. Okay? Now I'm going to prime factor to see if there's any pairs that can escape. So we have 7, and then 12 is 2 times 2 times 3. On the outside of our second term, we have a 10, and on the inside, we have a 7 times 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? So the first thing we have to remember is the 6 is waiting outside to multiply by any escapees. In this case, our 2's can pair up and escape. Again, something horrible happens on the way out. Talk to Miss Sally, and a 2 comes out. Left behind in that square root is our 7 and our 3, which we multiply together to get 21. Okay? In the second term, there's a 10 on the outside. And on the inside, there is a set of 2's that can come out. One of the 2's, there's 3 2's, only 2 of them can escape. So these 2 2's are going to come out. They're going to get multiplied by the 10 on the outside. Now you don't have to do this in 3 or 4 steps. You could do this in 1 step, but I'm showing you each step. And then left behind inside this one is a 7 and a 2. So 7 times 2 is 14. So let's simplify. 6 times 2 is 12. So we have 12 root 21. And then we have 20 root 14. Well, 21 and 14 cannot go together. They're two different numbers, and so that's your final answer. Again, you could reverse the order. You could have 20 root 14 plus 12 root 21. That would mean the same thing. But that is our final simplified product. Okay, the next one is going to be a box or a FOIL. I'm going to do both. So you can fast forward past the part that you don't need, but I'm going to do box and then I'm going to do FOIL. So it's parenthesis root 10 plus root 6, close parenthesis root 30 minus root 18, close parenthesis. Okay, so I'm going to do the box first. Some people like the box for this. Some of you may use box for other things, but not for this because there is more going on here, but it's kind of up to you. So I'll do the box and then I'll go back and I'll do the FOIL. Okay, so I'm trying to make it neat for no good reason, but all right. So here's our box. This is a 2 by 2 binomial times a binomial. So root 10 and a root 6. If you want to put pluses in front to make sure if it's negative or positive, that might help you. So this is a plus root 30 and this is a minus root 18. Okay, none of them have numbers in front of them, so they all have ones in front of them. So let's start with this first box. We're really going to do root 10 times 30. Now before I move on, I'm going to simplify this down. 10 is 2 times 5. 30 is 3 times 2 times 5. So think about what can come out of this. We can pull out a 2. And so that would go out front. And then there's also a 5 that can come out because there's 2 5s here. And so the 5 can come out front and left behind is a 3. So our final answer here, I'm going to write it in a different color so we know which one to look at, is 10 root 3. So that's what I'm going to focus on when it's time to combine like terms. Okay? All right, let's go to our upper right-hand box. So that's going to be positive times a negative. So outside of this is going to have a negative. On the inside, we have a 10 and 18. Now I'm going to make this a -1 just so you know that's a -1 on the outside. I need to write a little smaller, I think, but all right. So 10 is 2 times 5. 18 is 3 times 3 times 2. So let's think about what can come out of this. We can bring out a set of 2s. We can also bring out a set of 3s. Okay, so we have a -1 outside, so -1 times 2 times 3. Left behind is a 5. And so our final answer in this box is going to be -6 root 5. Okay? All right, let's go to our bottom left-hand box. We have both positives, and then it's 6 times 30. That can be prime factored to 2 times 3 times 3 times 2 times 5. We're going to pull out our pairs here. We have a pair of 2s. We have a pair of 3s. And so on the outside of this, we're going to have 2 times 3, left behind is a 5. And so our final answer in this one is 6 root 5. Okay. In our final box, I have a root 6. Oh, I better fix that because I have a negative and a positive. So negative times positive is negative. Inside that, we have a 6 times 18. So I'm going to, again, make that a -1. 6 is 2 times 3. 18 is 3 times 3 times 2. So I'm going to pull out my pairs. I have a pair of 2s. And I have a pair of 3s. And that makes a -1 times 2 times 3. Left behind is a 3. So my final answer here is going to be -6 root 3. Now you can do this, you can pull them out and simplify, you can simplify inside. I like to simplify inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, let's look at this. 10 root 3 can go with -6 root 3 because they both have the same. And 10 minus 6 is 4, so we have a 4 root 3. We can also combine, let me find another color that works here. Okay, we'll use that. We can also combine positive 6 root 5 and -6 root 5. Well, if we have 6 root 5 and we take away 6 root 5, we have 0. And so there's nothing. The final answer is simply 4 root 3. I love when they work out like that. Okay? Let's do the FOIL method on that one. So those of you who need to fast forward, because I'm going to do the FOIL method. So it's root 10, parenthesis root 10, plus root 6, close parenthesis, parenthesis root 30, minus root 18, close parenthesis. Okay, so FOIL, remember, first times first. So I'm going to write that down, root 10 times 30. And then I'm going to do the O, which is outside times outside. Remember, there's a negative there, so that's going to be negative root 10 times 18. I made that way too big. That's how I end up running out of room. Okay. Then we're going to do inside times inside. Let's see. Inside times inside here is going to be root 6 times 30. And then I'm going to do last times last. Oh, what color have I used? Oh, okay, here we go. And again, that's a negative times a positive, so that's going to end up negative root 6 times 18. Okay, let's go to our first term. Let's prime factor that. So that's 2 times 5 times 3 times 2 times 5. Again, what can come out of that is a set of 2's and a set of 5's. So what we're left with on the outside is 2 times 5, and on the inside is a 3. Okay, let's go to our second term. Our second term has a negative 1 on the outside, just to kind of help you see that. And on the inside, we have a 2 times 5 for 10, a 3 times 3 times 2 for 18. So let's think about what can be brought out. We have a set of 2's, and we also have a set of 3's. So out front, we have negative 1 times 2 times 3. Left behind is a root 5. Okay, let's go to our third term. Okay, inside that, we have a 6. See, I'm running out of room. 2 times 3 times 2 times 5 times 3. So coming out of that, we have a set of 2's and a set of 3's. And so on the outside, we're going to have a 2 times 3 root 5. And then our last one, remember we have a negative 1 on the outside. And on the inside, I don't know if I can fit it all, I might have to stack it. 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 2. What can come out is a set of 2's and a set of 3's. So what do we have on the outside of this one is negative 1 times 2 times 3, and left behind on this is a 3. Okay, so let's finish off our problem here. So this is going to be 10 root 3. This is going to be negative 6 root 5. This next one is 6 root 5, so I can stack that under the root 5 because we can add those together. And then the last one, the pink one, can be negative 6 root 3. So we can stack that under the root 3, and then we can add these all together. So 10 minus 6 root 3 is going to give me 4 root 3. A negative 6 root 5 plus a 6 root 5? Nothing. So my answer is 4 root 3. Okay? All right, number 20. Number 20 is 4 root 3, parenthesis 4 root 3 minus 2 root 5. Close parenthesis, open a new parenthesis, 3 root 10 plus 5 root 6, close parenthesis. Okay, now with this one, I'm going to do FOIL on this, and then I'll do box on 21. Okay, so I'm not going to do it twice. All right, so first times first. So that's going to give us 4 times 3 is 12. Inside is 3 times 10. I'm going to try to keep these close together. Then I'm going to do outside. 4 times 5 is 20. On the inside is 3 times 6. Then we're going to do the inside ones. So that's negative 6 on the outside, and then 5 times 10 on the inside. And then last times last will be negative 10 root 5 times 6. Okay? And so now I'm going to prime factor. So the first one is 12 root 3 times 2 times 5. The second one is 20 root 3, and 6 is 2 times 3. The next one is negative 6 root 5 times 2 times 5. And then the last one is negative 10 root 5 times 2 times 3. Okay, let's look in that first group. There's nothing that can come out, so this is really 12 root 30. In this one, what can come out? Well, we can have a 3 come out. So it's 20 times 3, so that's going to be 60 root 3. In the next one, 5s can come out, and that gets multiplied by the negative 6. So we actually have, oh, did I do that right? Yeah. I feel like I did something wrong there. Hold on, I made a mistake somewhere. Let's see where I made a mistake. Times 3. 12, 3 root 10, 20, 3 root 6, negative 6, 5 root 10, because I should get the same thing here. And then negative 2, negative 10, 5, and 6. Okay, this becomes 3, 2 times 3. This becomes 5, 2 times 5. Okay, I have a mistake on my answer key. And then over here, so then what we have is negative 30 root 2. And on this one, we're going to have nothing. So negative 10 root 30. But that can stack over here under this root 30. Okay? So that gives me 2 root 30 plus 60 root 3 minus 30 root 2. And I have to write this down because I made a mistake on my answer key. 2 root 30 plus 60 root 3 minus 30 root 2. Okay. Okay, let's do the last problem, number 21. I did give you a hint on the answer key. 21, 5 minus root 15 squared. Means we have to square the entire thing. So it's parenthesis 5 minus root 15, close parenthesis, another parenthesis 5 minus root 15. Okay? Now, I said I would box this one, so let's box this one. So positive 5, negative root 15, positive 5, negative root 15. 5 times 5 is 25. Nothing has to be done with that. The next one, this 5 is on the outside, so that's really negative 1 times 5 root 15. Well, 15 is already prime, so this is negative 5 root 15. This one is going to be the same thing. We have a negative 1 on the outside times the 5, and then a root 15, which is prime, on the inside. So it's not prime, sorry. There's no partners that can come out. So root 15, because it's just 3 and 5. And then the last one is going to be a negative 1 times a negative 1 and a 15 times a 15. Now here's a little hint. We could prime factor the 15s, but we already have a pair. And the pairs are the 15s. So they can come out, same rule applies. We have a negative 1 times a negative 1 on the outside, and then one of the 15s make it out. So negative 1 times negative 1 times 15 is 15. Now let's see what could go together. Well, 25 has no radical on it, and neither does 15. So 25 and 15 is 40. There's our first one. And then we can see that negative 5 root 15 can go with negative 5 root 15, and negative 5 is negative 10 root 15. So that's your answer for number 21.